In these times of global change, how can we build and secure our future together?
Hi everybody, I'm here with Vickson from the Pan-African Accounting Federation. So Vickson, tell us about what your organisation does.
So the Pan-African Federation of Accountants is a grouping of all the accountants organizations in Africa, from Cape to Cairo and everything in between. Our objective is to see if we can influence policies in governments to ensure that the resources of Africa are so well managed and that they benefit the citizens of Africa generally.
Fantastic. Well, I know I have lots of African students out there watching on YouTube, so a big hello to all of you. There's a bright future for accounting in Africa.
Thank you very much, Dr. White.
A fantastic first session from Niall Ferguson. The biggest thing he said that we can do as accountants in terms of helping the world is to make sure that we can help in less developed countries by bringing standardized accounting and assurance practices to help try and make sure that property rights are protected and that we have education and reduce corruption. The second thing, sorry I forgot, he had a second thing, and that is to try and put accounting into everyday curriculum. So we're teaching kids about financial literacy so that when they go out into the wide world as adults and we throw them into the financial system, they understand budgeting, mortgages, and how to make good financial decisions for their life. So some really wise advice, and we're now off to morning tea. I'm with Christine, and Christine is here as one of our volunteer ambassadors for CA. But Christine, you have a really interesting story to tell about how you came into accounting. So where did you study accounting?
I studied accounting at Macquarie University here in Sydney.
And then after you finished at university, what did you do?
So after I finished my coursework, which was the bachelor degree, I went on to do my honours, which was research piece on professional judgment of how accountants from different backgrounds come together and form their professional opinion on accounting matters.
Fantastic.
And then upon finishing that piece, I went to join the workforce a little bit. Felt like I really want to again push through my study and research again, so I went back to Macquarie, did my Master of Research, and then felt like there's a fantastic world out there, want to really use the knowledge, want to see them in practice. So I joined one of the big 4 accounting firms, did financial accounting advisory, and now I'm going to be back at academia again.
Fantastic, and I really love that Christine's done the university and work and research and work, because I think what we really need to have is teaching that's influenced by research, but teaching that's also influenced by industry. Now, the reason I wanted to speak to Christine, and we have Will Tan to thank for dropping Christine in it.
Thank you, Will.
Who you would have seen yesterday on my vlog, is that you're doing a really interesting research area. So tell us about your research.
So the research that I am going to focus on starting next year would be on diversity and inclusion in the mainstream organization context here in Australia. So what I've found is that because I came from an international background and definitely from a personal individual level, we have to overcome many barriers, cultural, language barriers, and at the same time we need to adapt. But then at the same time we offer so much more than straight up locals can offer to the organizations here in Australia. But it's a pity that it feels like the talent is not yet fully recognized, appreciated, and utilized. And from the organization's perspective, and this comes back to my working experience, I hear many business leaders through our conversations talking about they would really love to have a method to be able to appreciate and recognize these talents, but it feels like they don't really know how to do it in the most efficient way. And that gives me the urge that I want to do something about it.
Well, this is fantastic. This is passion-driven research. Diversity and inclusion is something I'm really passionate about. When I started at a big five firm back then, or actually, big five firm, there were not many other Asians, not many other Asian females. There weren't many females. So it's great to see the discussion about diversity really coming into play. What would your tips be for international students who want to make it within the Australian accounting industry? What would you suggest they do while they're at university?
I would go definitely keep doing what we do the best, which is a stereotype.
What's that?
But it's not a bad stereotype that we are really good at studying. We are really good at the technical capabilities. So keep doing that, but then at the same time, really push yourself out of your comfort zone. So that includes to attend as many as possible in terms of networking events, talk to people, to observe and to learn, and attend events like this.
Volunteer to come to events like these.
Yes, exactly, and meet fantastic people like what I just did today.
I'm really excited to watch Christine's progress throughout her career. And I think, she mentioned the technical skills, and there's, ways that you can combine your technical ability with giving back to peers within your student groups. So you could volunteer to be a peer tutor, or to get involved in something wherever you're living.
So I actually did what we called peer assisted learning, PAL leader, while I was a bachelor student.
We love we have the same thing at UTS.
Yes, and that was such a good program for the students and also for the leader. And then I later on started my tutoring, and that laid a great foundation for me. So definitely was trying, and there's nothing beating the feeling that students coming to you after the semester saying that I got distinction because of you. That was such a fantastic feeling.
Fantastic. Now, what would be your tips for improving English language skills? You mentioned networking.
Yes.
So just getting out there,
speak, try as much as you can. I am a firm believer that this is a natural process. It's all about input. Once you get yourself in the environment for enough length and depth in terms of the conversations that you join, then naturally you are going to see the progress. However, be resilient as well.
Keep at it.
It's not a quick process, I have to say, unfortunately. However, we have a second language that's just standing by there that we can draw back on at all time. And so once you kick off that, or once you knock down that barrier, then you are bilingual or trilingual.
Amazing. I know that one thing I always recommend my students to do is watch TV in English.
Yes.
Especially business news. So there are some good business news shows out there to watch in English to help get you into that lingo. Well, I want to thank Christine. Have a fantastic WCOA. And I'm sure I will catch up with Christine again. So if you haven't, subscribed to the channel. And in a few years' time, when Christine's finished her PhD and as she's going through, I'm sure I'll catch up with her again to find out more about her research in diversity and inclusion.
That would be awesome. See ya!
I'm down here at the coffee stand for the Association of International Certified Professional Accountants, and you can come down here and get a coffee. You can also buy beans. And what happens with the proceeds of the beans?
So today, bean giving, we're a social enterprise and we give 10% back to the value of the bean to a charity of your choice. So today we're sponsoring the Style Out Foundation.
Awesome, which is great for helping kids in hospital.
Yeah, so we do a number of different...
So if you've got room for a kilo of coffee to take home.
Boxes as well.
Yeah.
Oh, you could buy bulk coffee, and it's pretty good coffee. So come down and see the guys here at the AICPA stand and bean giving and get involved.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do it.
I'm here with Graham Talbot, and Graham has a really interesting story to tell. So Graham, what do you do?
Hi, thanks for the opportunity to have a chat, Amanda. So
I'm a fellow CPA Australia, and I've been a member for about 30 years, but my career has been in oil and gas and energy related businesses, and most of that's been outside of Australia. So I've been overseas for sort of 25 years of my working career. My passion and focus at the moment is really around climate change and the energy transition. So we've got quite a bit of time to change the way the world works in terms of energy, but we really need to get moving on making it happen now.
Yeah.
Also, there's a lot of opportunities in recycling and, once again, energy for recycling. So I'm focusing on mainly plastics and bio-waste at the moment in terms of creating synthetic gas and synthetic fuels.
Wow. Wow. That's
And then
really
we have
exciting.
another small business which is looking at recycling plastics into with timber for outdoor construction products, for decking and framing
I
as
think
well.
I've seen like furniture and things made out of
Yeah.
recycled plastics as well.
And these things have a lot better life. They wear a lot better. They're easier to maintain, and they're easier to work with during construction. And they recycle plastics. So there's a whole lot of really interesting and exciting things to get involved in, and sort of, you know, use your passion to drive these things.
And I didn't realise the plastic recycling thing. That's really come to the fore for me in the recent while, because there was some news that China and I think a couple of other countries are about to stop taking our plastic for recycling, and I just assumed all our plastic was recycled here.
No.
And it turns out we export a lot of it, and that's not going to happen anymore. So we need to be smarter about
Definitely. So there's a few
plastic.
countries around the world who have sort of been the repository and they're now starting to say enough. The aha moment for me is I've always been a little bit disturbed about it, but I was actually diving up one of the islands off Bali, and it's sort of famous for its manta rays. And we went there and I jumped in the water and I was in about 2 meters of plastics.
Oh my goodness.
And it was disgusting. And you know, it actually didn't come from Indonesia, but it's not really the point. And that's why it's a global problem. It's not a regional issue.
Well, there's meant to be that big swirl of garbage, like in the ocean where all the currents just collected. So how are your skills as an accountant helping? So if you're a student, you think, I want to help change the future with accounting, how can we do that?
Well, I think one of the key areas is when I look at the broader aspects of climate change and energy transition, one of the big challenges at the moment is when we do economic evaluation of projects, we don't include all of the externalities in the costing of carbon-based projects. So we know that CO2 emissions are harmful to both the environment and to humans, but they have no price. So if you do an economic evaluation of two proposals, well, you know, you're just not comparing like with like. So some sort of carbon pricing is essential globally to be able to correctly evaluate things. And this topic is just becoming louder and louder, and we'll hear a lot more about that as we move forward. Interestingly, when you look at it globally, there's more incentives in place still today to produce carbon-based fuels.
Yeah.
So we've got a global policy of we're concerned about the climate, we want to transition to cleaner fuels, but at the same time we're providing more incentives to continue with oil and gas development. So it's a really interesting time in industry, and we as accountants have a really unique role to play in that both within a corporation we can see across all the silos and bring together discussions, but also we can step back even further, which is sort of what I do, is look across a whole range of industries, not just silos, about bringing together different conversations about, you know, how can we stimulate the change.
I saw a really interesting thing on Twitter the other day that talked about plastic bags, obviously, where you have to pay for plastic bags at the supermarket now, and I always thought that buying a cotton bag was a better choice, and I think it said I had to use a cotton bag 150 times.
Put your hands together for our jazz band.
Well, now we're going to have a
Yeah.
150 times for it to be, you know, positive. And then in a plastic bag, it said, oh, you only need to use it 4 times. And that almost sounded counterintuitive to me. I thought, isn't cotton better? But then someone was telling me all the water that goes into cotton production.
But you've hit the nail on the head, Amanda. These are the sorts of things where accountants can really make a difference in terms of value, understanding the full supply chain cost of things. You know, so
and we're not really seeing all those
although I
real
don't
costs,
don't agree with the outcome of that decision, but the logic is sound, because you also then get into you're using arable farming land for making bags for shopping rather than food for people, and you get into all sorts of arguments.
Complicated.
If you take plastics out of the food supply chain, then food will rot quicker and you'll have more wastage. So all of these are really interesting dilemmas, but hey, that's where we can get involved and say, let's tell the true story, because at the end of the day, I'm pretty simplistic. My job as an accountant is to translate business activity into numbers, which then gets translated into information for decision making and support. So it has to be accurate, we have to be honest, we have to tell the truth, and then use that information and help businesses translate it into decisions.
Exciting time for accountants. So there's no way that accounting is dead. Anybody that tells you technology is going to kill the accountant, I think is way off base. There's still lots of room for us.
And that's without even getting into the digital and tech space, which that's another
whole other
story as well, which is great for accountants as well.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Graham, for taking the time to chat with us. Have a great WCOA.
My pleasure.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
I'm here with Kahiso, and he is the winner of the CPA virtual reality competition. Tell me about where you're from, and is this your first time at a World Congress event?
I'm from Botswana. Yes, this is my first time at the World Congress.
And what do you think of Australia so far?
So far, so good. It's a lovely place.
And what sort of accounting do you do back in Botswana?
At Botswana, basically, I work in the finance department. I cover all areas from payroll, reconciliation up to the trial balance and audit.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I'm an auditor, so great to meet another auditor. Congratulations and enjoy the rest of your conference.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody. I just did the virtual reality experience within the CPA booth, and that was pretty cool. I didn't quite crack the top of the leaderboard. Obviously my management accounting skills need some work, but definitely really interesting to be able to move the levers. And even this sort of activity in a non-VR environment I think could be really useful for students and just regular business people to see how moving all of the different components worked. I think my brain, I went into a bit too much theory. So I'm working through the management accounting theory in my head rather than just, as soon as I went to like just move the lever and watch the dial, I think I did a little better. But that was lots of fun. So if you haven't come down to the CPA booth, make sure you do and have a try.